Thank you. Oh, those lights are just as bright as they were this afternoon. Anybody have trouble with that in the room? I had a little trouble with that in the room. Yeah, they're wicked bright. Anyway, I have a very important question. How do you overcome adversity? Well, in my world, there's two things that help me overcome adversity. One is picking the right words, and two is laughter. It's really very important to me. So on a Tuesday, which is not my favorite day, and I know most people would say it's Monday, I was in my office treating patients, and I was running late, because I always run late. And I needed to run a few minutes later because the bladder was just not going to hold. So I marched down the hallway to the bathroom, went in, locked the door, dropped my scrubs and my underwear, and I voided my bladder. And during that activity, I looked down to find that I had my underwear on inside out. You've worn your underwear inside out, haven't you, Jason? There was only one in the room, and he's right there. So I had to make a really important decision. Do I take everything off, change it around, pull it back up? Or do I keep it the way that I was wearing it because it was clearly very comfortable for the majority of my day? So up it went, just as it started. But in that moment, I realized that just because there's a right way to do something doesn't always mean it's the perfect way at that given moment. There was another bad Tuesday. I was late again, shocking, because I was looking for test results that were mine. You see, a couple weeks prior, I had found a lymph node that protruded from my neck, and I knew something was wrong because I wasn't sick. And a few days later, I still wasn't sick. The x-ray confirmed 4 nodes. The blood work looked terrible. And I run blood work on patients all the time, and I never get scared because you know what? Until we take our very last breath, there is always something that can be done. And we just fix it. But I was scared. So I walked over to the fax machine, and I pulled off the report. It was 2 pages. There were lots of words. I only saw 2. Neoplastic process. That's never good. So the next step was a biopsy, and it was the Tuesday night before the biopsy, and I was telling the kids what was going to go on, and I wrote that letter. You know the one. Dear kids, I love you in case I die. And Reese, my daughter, gave me this massive hug, and she was clearly nervous. And Ari, my oldest son, said, Mom, I don't even know what a biopsy is. Jackson, my funny little 6-year-old at the time, he said, oh, Mom, I know. Can I answer that question? So I let him take a shot at it. Now, a week prior, we had gone to an ice sculpting demonstration where they used a chainsaw. And he clearly transferred that experience, and he explained to his brother and sister they're going to take a chainsaw to Mom's neck, and they're going to carve out that lymph node. Not quite how that's done in medicine. So I explained what was going to happen, and the next day I show up for the biopsy, where they confirmed Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2B. And I'm in recovery, and the anesthesiologist is there, and I decided to lean a little bit for the humor side, and I said, tell me what happened in the operating room. Did I say or do anything that was funny? She said, not really, but you did grab a hold of your neck where the lymph node was and told the surgeon not to touch you. Not super funny, so I said to her, tell me the strangest thing that has ever happened to you in the OR. And I suppose doctor to doctor, she felt okay sharing the information, and she said, a gentleman had come in, he was having knee replacement surgery, and he masturbated through the entire procedure. Curious I was. I said, what did you do? And she said, well, naturally, we let him finish. It was in that moment I was really glad I was grabbing my neck and not my vagina. So now I have this diagnosis, and it's another Tuesday. I'm having lunch with my very good girlfriend, Wendy. And I said, Wendy, I have cancer. But I'm not sick, and I don't want to be sick. So she looked at me and said, then don't be. She said, why don't you experience cancer instead of having cancer? And it was that one word change that made all the difference in the trajectory of my treatment and my mindset. Because I was going to own the cancer. Experiencing allowed me to walk through to get on the other side. Well, Tuesdays became important again, but this time it was a book, Tuesdays with Morrie. And I had read it such a long time ago, but I remember a passage that went something like, it's okay to feel sorry for yourself for just a little bit of time, but then you have to move past it. Ooh, I wanted to lean into that. So every day when I took a shower, I would sit on the shower floor and I would cry for 20 minutes. And I would ask the questions that I think we typically ask. Why me? And what did I do to deserve this? And then I'd get out of the shower 20 minutes later and I would towel off and I would put on my underwear the right way. And I would spend the next 23 hours and 40 minutes kicking the shit out of cancer. 6 months of treatment. And I did it my way, because sometimes the right way doesn't work for every single patient. And on a Tuesday night before my very last chemotherapy treatment, which also included IV vitamin C, I reflected, which I commonly did, and I thought to myself, you know what? This was a gift. Walking through, allowing me that experience, I was able to change that scary word of cancer into something fun, where I was able to find joy and gifts along every step of the way. And now Tuesdays are my favorite day of the week to treat patients, because they're my busiest day. And I get to walk into that room and sit across the desk and teach them to use and find better words, and to overcome that adversity with a better mindset. So for those of you that are going to come across adversity, and you're going to, so open your arms and welcome it in, because it is coming your way. Pick better words. Lessen the power of the scary words and give the power to the right words. Experience it and don't own it to get it on the other side. And if you're ever so inclined, feel free to text me an emoji of your underwear if you're ever wearing it inside out.